Welcome to the show, everybody. This is episode number 292 of the Iron Coop Fights movies. This episode is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and hosted by SoundCloud. Oh, shit. I thought my Zoom account got canceled. And, I had to pay extra so that we could record the three of us. I've been paying $16 a month. It did get canceled. I don't know why it's working now.
I wouldn't tempt fate.
Weird. I wonder, am I still paying for SoundCloud? I didn't even think about that. Okay. Anyway, we're back just very briefly because we are going to review Ant-Man Quantumania. We'll probably come back in the meantime just for some of the bigger releases. It's very difficult to come with the baby right now. All right.
Come on, Everett.
Let's just jump into
That
it.
was too easy.
People know how we do things. So, Everett, why don't you give your review?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give this movie a loss for a multitude of reasons. First of all, I fell asleep a portion through this movie, and when I woke back up, I saw it at 11, so it was late. But
that might have been the problem.
No, that is not the problem. I have
that a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah,
Where?
Jay just messed it up.
I've gone to see movies late at night before, and I have stayed awake the entire time. I went to go see this movie, and I was so unbelievably bored. It was basically 2 hours of work. Shit was nothing was happening. It was unemotional. It was overstuffed. It was frantically paced. I didn't like it at all. There's 2 scenes in this movie that I enjoyed. Other than that, I thought it was terrible. And I feel like I'm definitely experiencing superhero fatigue at this point. But I've written notes down for when we go through the plot. So yeah, I give it a loss.
Emerson?
So I'm going to give it a draw. I think it's significantly better than Shang-Chi, Wakanda Forever. What was the other one we saw that was asked? Thor: Love and Thunder. I think but at the same time, I also do think it's pretty boring and pretty tired in a lot of ways. It had cool visuals, but it's just the story ends exactly where it begins. There's really no difference at all. The biggest thing for me is that I think that a lot of the stuff they're doing is just random stuff that'll never ever be relevant ever again. The ants should be relevant now at all times. That should be the end all be all. They've reached the meta, but we'll never see them again. I think a lot of the quantum stuff felt really weird and really boring, or it felt like I was watching a Star Wars ripoff. And at the same time, I also think Kang, the big thing of the movie, essentially anytime we see him now, it's just going to be this again. And holy fuck, those post-credit scenes. Jesus. They must have known it was funny. There's no way they were yeah, this will get everyone hyped up. They must have been this will be funny. So it was a draw for me. But I genuinely think the movie magic that Marvel once had, whatever it once had, is gone. It's just it's repetitive and boring, and I don't care about a lot of these characters seeing them again.
Yeah.
It's a draw for me as well. I think that it's better than everyone is saying. I think even as far as the bad movies, I think it's not as bad as the bad ones. It is definitely a forgettable movie. There's this weird thing going on right now where people are acting well, they should have kept it down to the street level hijinks. Ant-Man and the Wasp was good. That movie was not good. And so when people say it should have been more like that, I'm nobody cared about that movie when it came out. Nobody gave 2 shits. So for them to go and do some high stakes, we're going to introduce the new villain, it's totally wrong. But I'm not going to pretend what they were doing before was good. The first Ant-Man was good. After that, they added the Wasp into the title and gave her less to do. And in each individual movie, she seems to be more and more
irrelevant.
Yeah, what is she even doing half the time?
Mm-hmm.
So I give it a draw. I enjoy Paul Rudd. I enjoy Ant-Man. This movie had Paul Rudd, didn't have that much of Ant-Man. And when I say that, I mean there was a lot of other stuff going on that was just not about shrinking down. And I don't know. That's kind of all I care. I was
also his biggest thing now is getting big. It's objectively better in 90% of the scenarios.
Yeah.
He is also now giant, man.
He gets big. That's his new thing. He really doesn't get small. He doesn't need to get small. There's no point. Kang, for some reason, can withstand and see the small Ant-Man, but he's like at a loss against the big Ant-Man. Yet when
Normal
his
size,
blast,
man.
but when his blasts hit other people, they like teleport or disintegrate or something. But when it hits Ant-Man, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, he
And
gets shot by like 50 people at once and nothing happens.
yeah, because I'm like terrified. I'm like, oh, he's big. That means he's a bigger target. Doesn't seem to matter at all. So I don't know. I mean, is it a perfect movie? Definitely not. Is it a trash bag piece of shit? I think there are other bigger trash bags in the MCU that have come out recently. So yeah, I think the internet's being a little rough on it, but they always hated Ant-Man. They always did. That's the
But
weird
see,
part.
I kind of like that the internet's being rough on it because like this can't continue. Like,
Yeah. No, it's better. It's better for the
Maybe it'll give
MCU.
them the incentive to actually
but the
make
problem
better
is
shit.
those leaks you sent earlier. I was reading those. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude. This
We're
is
not
what
going to go through all the leaks because first of all, there's a bunch of them, and second of all, like we don't even know if they're true.
Emerson,
So
magic tattoos.
Yeah, kill
it's just
yourself.
4chan shit. Some of it sounds legit, like what's her name, Echo getting magical tattoos that give her powers or some shit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. My biggest takeaway from all those leaks is that I don't really give a shit about
Yeah,
any of them.
Don't care. I don't care. It's like, well, Thaddeus Ross. It's like, I don't care.
I was mildly interested in Tom Holland Spider-Man 4, just like mildly interested in that. The rest of them, I was like, I really don't give a shit if they all just drop dead. I just
like,
don't care.
Like at the end of like New World Order, when like it's like, and Captain America realizes he needs to reunite the Avengers. I'm like, what are you
I'm like,
talking about?
I think I'll stay home for that one.
Yeah.
I
And
just
also
don't give
like,
a fuck.
have they ever at any point said the Avengers don't exist anymore? No. In fact, literally at the end of Shang-Chi, Wong says you're an Avenger now. He's gonna reunite the
That's the
Avengers.
funny
Dude,
part. Is
in
none of
this
those.
movie, Ant-Man was saying like I'm an Avenger still. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
well,
it's all
he is.
meaningless.
He is. I mean, he is. But Emerson's right that the idea that the Avengers are not a thing. Maybe by the time New World Order comes out, and they're like, yeah, they're kind of scattered. They're gonna just spin it that way. I could see that happening. I don't know. I just didn't care. I really just didn't care. I mean, I guess we could go through some of them if we have a little bit of time, but let's talk about the movie first.
can I ask
Uh,
you guys a question?
yeah,
What
we'll
do
talk
you
spoilers now.
Well, now that we've actually seen her in action, what do you guys think about the replacement that they gave for Cassie Lang? The
I
new
despise
actress.
her, but that's not so much the actress's problem. I don't like the archetype of the young, like wise beyond her years. I guess she's like not super young, but like she's spunky and she's got her own way. I don't like that archetype. And also, I'm so fucking sick of everyone around the hero becoming like another version of said hero. It's like everyone around Captain America just becomes another type of Captain America. Everyone around Ant-Man is another
To be
Ant-Man. Everyone
fair,
around Iron Man is another Iron Man.
okay, yes, you're right. But to be fair, the Captain America thing is like a well they've gone back to in like a million different versions in the comics. Like the super soldier serum, it's like, dude, at this point, if you can't get it right, just fucking give up. Because everybody has like the
Yeah,
wrong version of it.
I understand, but I'm just saying it's so like lazy and boring when it's like, what if we had Ant-Man? It's like, okay, that's interesting. What if we also had the Wasp, who's like kind of like Ant-Man, but she can't get big and she has blasters? Like, okay, it's kind of redundant, but whatever. What if we had Cassie,
Well,
who's literally just Ant-Man?
but here's the thing: like when you say, "What if we had the Wasp is supposed to be Ant-Man but badass." Like she knows what she's doing because Ant-Man's a fucking goofball, but she knows what she's doing, and instead she does nothing.
And also, like, I'm gonna be honest, Ant-Man is more badass than her in several different scenes. Like,
Now
not
he is.
always.
She doesn't do shit. I remember I mentioned this to you, Emerson. There was like two specific instances where she was just like, I'm like, dude, when Ant-Man's not there, even when he is there, you're supposed to be the one who fucking handles shit. And like there kept being instances where she would just not do anything.
Yeah, I think there was one scene where she was standing outside the ship when they were leaving that like cantina area, and it was literally just her going like, pew, pew,
Yeah, I'm like,
like
dude, you
random.
don't
She wasn't
seem
doing
very
anything.
effective. Yeah, like Michael Douglas was doing the same shit without the suit. Like, wasn't he like holding him off also
Yeah, and
before he
like,
got on the plane?
oh
Yeah.
god,
But
He
there was
did
like
more
one
than any
part
of them.
they were hammering King like in the final battle, when there was like just the three of them and everyone else fled, and they were like beating his ass, and she got hit once, and Ant-Man is like going on, and he's huge, and he's choking Kang, and Kang hits him down. Where's the Wasp? Like, where's the backup? It cuts to her, and Cassie's like cradling her, like it's gonna be okay. Like, dude, what the fuck? You're supposed to be the number one. And then later at the end, when they all jump through the portal and Scott doesn't come through, she just stands there like, gee, I wonder what happened. Like, fucking jump back in.
Yeah.
What is wrong
Well,
with
she
you?
does jump back in eventually, but
Yeah, eventually.
Too little,
but
too
it's
late.
she's like cowardly. Just like, and a lot of this is like a cinematic problem, but a lot of her scenes are her looking with like the expression of like, what? Like think about like when they get sucked into the quantumverse. Like, I hated all that scene. That scene is still stupid.
Yeah.
Where like, is it Michelle Pfeiffer who's old?
Yeah,
that's their mother. Yeah,
a lot of Michelle Pfeiffer's dialogues and reasoning and like explanations are really stupid. Like, she's like, I don't want you to talk to me about this. Just leave it alone. Like, there was so much exposition at the beginning that was just like exposition for the sake of like, we need to tell you something. It's like, instead of characters talking and I'm like, oh, these are characters, she's like, hello, remember me? I got trapped to the quantum realm. Don't ask me about it for 30 years. And everyone's like, okay, but what? But when they get sucked into the quantum realm, if you look at fucking the Wasp's face, when like Michelle Pfeiffer's like, turn it off right now, she's like,
I know, like, it's so stupid. I mean, to be fair, I like No Way Home, and No Way Home has its own level of like contrived stupidity where Doctor Strange just
pretty
fucks
bad
up the spell.
This is pretty bad.
You have to really shut your brain off. Like, she comes back from the quantum realm. She did all this shit. We still don't understand, like, why did she age? In Endgame, they say 5 minutes is 5 years or whatever it was. Like, how long did he say? Five something was 5 years, but it was
5 hours was like 5 years or something.
It was short, yeah. And so she's in there for 30 years. Somehow she comes out old, because I guess it would be weird if she came out young. But I really think that she should have been young. Like, I still don't understand how that happened. But anyway, she apparently lived a great life where she was a freedom fighter and did all this shit, had sex with other people, came back, and it wasn't like, yeah, actually the quantum realm was a fucked up place, and like, we should shut down everything you've got going on in regards to that, because you pulled me out, which means that you could pull other people out, or other people might get out, and that's a bad idea, and this is why. And she just says nothing because she doesn't want them to know that she trapped him there.
Yeah, right? So that's stupid. And
she's then, like, I don't want them to think of me as a person who trapped an evil person.
And then, like, I can't stress enough that fucking scene where like there's the quantum realm. Everyone's like, that's a quantum satellite. Then they all get pulled into the quantum realm. They're in this place with like giant monsters, and Cassie's like, where are we? It's like, really?
It's like, a second ago, you were explaining that you built like a satellite. You know, she says that terrible trope thing that they do in movies where it's like, you know, they just stick like the word quantum in front of everything. And she literally does that, where she's like, yeah, it's like a radar satellite, except quantum.
But quantum.
Yeah.
It's like, so what the fuck does that mean? It's small? Like,
yeah, and how do you know that? Because I told Emerson this, but like, she is not the daughter of Hank Pym. She is not the granddaughter of Hank Pym. She is the daughter of Scott Lang, a thief. And I'm not saying the kid has to turn out just like the parent, but how does she build her own fucking quantum satellite? And Michael Douglas, he never says like, yeah, you know, it was mostly me. Like, he's kind of like, yeah, she just asked me questions and I explained it to her and she did it on her own. Like, how? How the fuck did she build a quantum satellite? The girl is 16 years old. She lived through the blip. Like, she didn't have education. she's like, this is ridiculous. This is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And she has a suit. Like, why would Michael Douglas do that? Or what is his name even? Hank Pym, yeah.
Sort of expanding off that. First of all, remember when Michelle Pfeiffer had that weird like quantum ability power from the last movie? Like, they just
I completely forgot about that.
They completely got rid of that.
She was just shooting like power beams, right?
Yeah, she could like transfer energy from point A to point B or something. Like, I don't know.
Ant-Man and the Wasp really sucks ass.
Well, that's what I was certainly going to bring up. Do you remember like how the stakes were, at least in that movie, compared to this one, when getting someone out of the quantum realm, getting someone out of the quantum realm in the last movie was like a split second thing that could only happen at one point and one time. Otherwise, take like 100 extra years for them to do it. It
Something
required
like
a
that,
giant building full of tech, like all this shit just to get down to like one level. Now they're doing it immediately. And I know Kang's involved in all that shit, but it feels so lackluster in comparison. Like almost effortless with a bigger spectacle with less effort, if that makes sense.
I feel like the stakes are higher in this movie. They just shifted
Not
the
really. I mean,
goalposts a little
like
bit.
Emerson said, like the guy who supposedly is going to destroy every universe in existence got his ass handed to him by Ant-Man.
Yeah, I can't stress enough. I like that's a good segue, I guess, into Kang. Kang was like kind of cool. Like, all right, he's doing interesting stuff, but I cannot stress enough. Like, what they just showed us is all Kang will ever be in every movie. Like, I hate to say it for any like super fans out there, but you're fucking lying to yourself if you don't think that the Kang Dynasty and like Secret Wars, is that what it's called?
Secret
Those
Wars,
two
yeah.
movies are literally just going to be what we just saw in Ant-Man, but drawn out over two movies, and he's going to like kind of win after the first one. And then he's going to get beaten again. Like, and now there's like a million of them. Like, they're going to get dumbed down by sheer force
Is
of like.
Secret Wars a Kang thing?
But Secret Wars was just like two
They're
worlds
on
colliding
Battle
with
World or something, but I don't know what that.
Yeah. But so the problem is like, so in those leaks, there's like spoilers ahead, like Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman and Robert Downey Jr. and everybody comes back, right? That's the leak. Okay. The only way that like 10 billion Kangs makes sense is like they just start dying in droves, like literal droves. And someone's like, yeah, isn't that cool? Like all these Kangs are dying, like blah, 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 blah.
Wouldn't really make sense.
But it's not. It's not going to be cool. It's going to be the same thing as the Chitauri dying or the Outriders dying or his stupid blue soldiers dying. I'm so tired of the like generic enemy to get like burned alive in a group of 100. And I know other movies have this, like Star Wars have it and Lord of the Rings have it, but this is like a series now where almost every major movie is like, and now we introduce the pawns who only exist, literally only exist to die by the millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
The equivalent of like the orcs or stormtroopers.
The orcs or the stormtroopers or the Chitauri or the Ultron drones or the fucking like, I don't know, the like
pointless beings to be thrown in the face of danger and get annihilated. Yeah, but
and
it's a little odd to think though, because as they've established, every Kang is super intelligent and super powerful.
Really, is the Egyptian Kang super intelligent, super powerful?
Well, I mean, from what they've described,
looks like he picked it up from Spirit Halloween.
That's sort of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that at least some of them end up being more powerful than others, because if they're all technically equal and they all die like the way you're describing, it's going to be so Egyptian fucking pointless.
Kang, he literally looks like he went into Spirit Halloween and got like one of those Halloween costumes where the guy on the picture is like just white, like straight up white, and it says like Pharaoh outfit. Yeah. And like he just put it on.
There's a name for the other one. But to me, he just seemed like he was meant to be like mystical Chinese Kang.
It was, and they're doing accents, like, and he's doing like here's the problem I have. Okay, this is something that would sound cool to like a 5-year-old. Like, wouldn't it be sick if like there were a bunch of different Kangs and they looked like a bunch of different cultures and like they had different accents and stuff? It's like, no, you know, it would have been potentially like, I told this to Kia and it's kind of contrived, but it would have been far more interesting if the post-credit scene was someone you thought was the Kang from the Quantumverse, and it's like it's that Kang for you think for a second, and then it's like no, it's not, and you'd have to have menace and you'd have to have different music and like kind of a different implication there. But the idea should be that this guy, just because you beat him, it's meaningless. There's another one, and he's slightly smarter and he's slightly stronger, and it's like this is a consistent threat. Instead, it's like now we're gonna go to the stadium where there's like thousands of them, and they're screaming like football fans. They're like, "Yeah, let's kick it up!" Like,
dude, one of them, like the one that they were showing right before they cut away,
they're going nuts.
That guy was screaming like an animal at the zoo. I'm not gonna say which one.
Christ, I'm not touching what you just said with the 10-foot pole. That's fucked up. In February of all months. But
let's talk about the movie a little more. I didn't care so much about the freedom fighters.
What about MODOK?
I thought he was fine.
The freedom fighters were stupid. MODOK was funny at one scene, which is where he's like, "You were always like a brother to me," and people are kind of like, "eh," and then he's like, "At least I died an Avenger."
Yeah, that was
like,
funny.
And Michael Douglas is like, "What the fuck?" That was funny. I liked that.
It was funny.
I laughed.
I feel like there were a couple other times that I laughed. I can't remember them now.
I like the scene where Michael Douglas kills Bill Murray with the disc when they're like at the restaurant.
Is he dead?
Yeah, he's dead. He remember like they're like eating those weird squid things, and as they're leaving, he throws one of the enlargement discs at one of them. And
but
like,
I don't know
destroys
that
everything.
like we didn't see him like die. We saw him like screaming. Like, "Ah."
Well, he got like lifted up by the thing. Like I think he got eaten or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we know that he's dead for sure. I feel like if there's more quantum bullshit, Bill Murray will come back for more. But I thought Bill Murray was funny, the way he kept alluding to like the sex that they had. I thought that was a good scene, even though he was there just very briefly, and honestly, kind of unnecessary. Like the whole Bill Murray thing just didn't need to happen at all. But the freedom fighters are an interesting thing because they actually end up getting a lot of screen time. And do you think we're ever going to see them again?
No. Or it'll be like some stupid Endgame style thing where like we've forgotten about them and then like they show up and in the background of one scene is like, hey, that's the freedom fighter. Like, and that dude with the like laser head, he got killed. Yeah. He was like the only casualty.
What about the ooze guy?
The ooze guy lived.
You're drinking me, as he kept saying.
Did you guys think that was funny?
No.
Kinda. I mean, it kind of grew old after a while, but
because it's written by the Rick and Morty guy.
Really?
Yeah, I forget which one. Justin
Dan Harmon, Dan Harmon, or sorry, Dan Harmon or Justin Roiland. Which one? There's two of them.
I don't think it's I don't think it's the one that just got like canceled.
Yeah,
that's Justin Roiland.
Dan Harmon.
I don't know actually.
But the point I'm making is I did not think that was very funny. I was like, it was the type of thing that I felt like the writer was expecting, and now you laugh. Like, isn't that zany?
Well, maybe these movies just aren't made for people like us anymore. Maybe these aren't meant.
No, it's not really made for anybody, but
just meant for like 10-year-olds that don't give a shit.
I thought there was some. Oh, it's Jeff Loveness who did work on Rick and Morty. But there was the part where like Ant-Man gets dragged in to the crowd and he's like screaming for his daughter, and then Cassie shows up and she's got blood on her mouth and she's like, drink the ooze, and he's like, what? Which is funny. Like I thought that was okay. But still, I'm not that interested in it. Like it was fine. I didn't hate it. It was just not that interesting to me. So then they talk, and there's the mind reader guy from the Happy Place or the Good Place. I don't know. I just didn't care really about any of them. The girl seemed to be given a big role. I thought maybe she was gonna like escape the quantum realm or something, but given how much screen time they gave her, but really it just turned out like she's the face of the rebellion. But then it's like I would not expect at the end of the movie for anybody to trust Cassie when she's like, hey, come on, we have to go fight for and put our lives on the line.
Yeah, when she puts that like announcement or whatever, and everyone comes to her, I was like, "This is more movie."
It had
bullshit.
To be the other chick, the Amazon chick, like for them to believe it.
Yeah.
And then that's supposed to be Cassie's arc, apparently, which is she like does something good,
which she was supposedly doing at the start. By the way,
she was trying to change the world. Like that was how she did it. That's how she meant that.
So now that she's helped with that revolution, she doesn't have to go to Black Lives Matter marches anymore, and she doesn't care about police brutality. I see. That's another thing. Like, it feels very corporate to me how it's like, yeah, look, she was at a protest and she didn't like that the police were tear gassing, so she shrunk their cop car. But she's witty. She's got banter with the cops. It's like, okay, but like, did they kill someone and now she's like bantering with the cops? Like, what is this? It just feels very corporate and half-baked. And Kia brought this up. The end battle events, nobody's living in peace. The ants are going to kill everybody. Like there's
going to be a war between the ants and the people over territory.
And the ants are going to win.
Didn't Hank Pym make a joke saying like, I'm not advocating for socialism?
That was also weird.
But like I mean, yeah, they come back and the ants are like Nazis now. They like everyone under the ant regime.
But it's like it's just a lot of this movie feels like they were like, how do you do fellow kids? Like, I made a reference to activism. I made a reference to socialism.
I think that they are kids. Like they are kids writing for kids. Like they actually think this stuff is cool. Like the people that wrote it think it's good.
Well, they're idiots.
It's because they see everything through a screen or through a report. They don't actually like talk to people.
They see everything everywhere all at once.
One of the cringiest moments in the movie was that "don't be a dick" exchange.
Yeah, that was really bad. You sent us a video of that today.
It got taken off of Reddit before I could see it. But
yeah, that did stick with me after the movie, where I was just like, that was just bad. Like I can't really critique it. I just hated it. I hated it the entire
really
time.
Bad. It has no meaning. It's also like it's stupid. Like they're basically like, I think what they're trying to do is subvert the trope of like the villain choosing to be good, because like in a normal the normal trope would be like him saying you need to be better. It's like I can't be. It's like yes you can, and it's supposed to be isn't it funny? She's saying just don't be a dick, and it's like no, it's not funny. It's dumb, and I don't like Cassie, and I don't like that she's an ant woman.
But the thing is, like their whole goal there was really just to say dick a bunch of times. Like that was supposed to be the joke that's like seals the deal on that. Like, oh, she said dick for the third time. Am I supposed to laugh on the third time? Was I supposed to laugh the first time?
That's all it took to sway Darren Cross, aka MODOK. It's all it took to make him a good guy. Is don't be a dick.
But the thing about him is that like he's either a killer robot or he like wants to die, because his life now sucks. Like he just wants to be a killer robot. When he says like, "Is it too late to be a dick?" It's like, dude, you have nothing to live for. Like you know that, right? Like, there's nothing. You got nothing to look forward to. You're in some shitty like universe. You're not the top guy. You got like baby legs. You're trapped in this machine. At best, you can run around murdering people. At worst, you just are some disgusting blob. And like he's talking about not being a dick. Like to who? You already murdered a bunch of people. You should just kill yourself if you want to like do everyone a favor. Like just fucking kill yourself.
His hands aren't big enough to reach his head.
Like that's what she should have done. She should have like helped him like do some assisted suicide. Like not try to change his character. Um, he did have a funny moment at the end. I don't know if that makes it worth it or not. I'm trying to remember the movie because it's been a few days since I've seen it. I really didn't have any notes because it didn't have much of an impact on me at all.
Well, it had almost no substance, and that's what I think is funny because, well, me and you gave it draws and say, oh, it's better than a lot of stuff. I am happy that it's getting a fairly critical reception because they need to stop. I don't know what it is, but like even like those leaks we were looking at, half the leaks are about characters that are supposedly dead that are now back. And I'm not even talking about the cameos of like, oh, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and the next Avengers movie. I'm talking about like, and now Scarlet Witch is like supposedly back, and this other person is back. And it just feels cheap. What it feels like is like they're like, we're going to endlessly kill and resurrect and create variants of characters so we can just endlessly pad whatever we want to whatever we want. And even that second post-credit scene where it's, I don't know, Victor Timely or whatever the hell his name was, and Loki's watching him. I like Loki. I like Mobius. I like Morbius. I like all those. I like, Loki season 1. I didn't care. I was like, this is stupid. He's got a horrible wig on. Just a horrible wig, because they're like, oh, the audience is too stupid that if we see this 1920s Earth era Kang, they'll think it's the same one. So let's give him an awful wig. So, it's like, no.
I mean, yeah, I see why they have to make him look like visually distinct.
Yeah, but like, we just saw like 7,000 of them. We don't need to see this.
Yep. My meeting will end in 10 minutes.
We're good. We could wrap this up.
Okay, Everett, maybe you can explain it. I don't understand who Kang is.
I mean, who he is in these movies is pretty much exactly what he is. He's the Kang the Conqueror, is the guy that travels the multiverse and conquers timeline after timeline after timeline.
But is he one guy or is he multiple guys?
He's multiple guys. He's multiple of the same guy. Like they've done that a few
universes.
Yeah, it's like the Kang of each universe.
So why are we afraid of every single Kang?
because they all share the same intelligence and they're all extremely powerful and they're all extremely this and that. And
But like
one guy is
like
powerful, but a billion of them.
My understanding was that Everett Kang is the smartest Kang in their universe, and aren't they like descendants of Reed Richards?
No, not really. They did a thing with they did the Council of Reeds in the comics, which is the same thing. It's basically like a bunch of Reed Richards coming together and pooling their knowledge. But
King the Conqueror, real name Nathaniel Richards.
Okay, whatever. Why didn't they like do their Kang shit before this?
They did. Do you remember in Loki the way they explained what happened with Kang?
I don't remember how they explained it.
So okay, so the whole reason the TVA exists in Loki was because the last remaining Kang, he who remains, was trying to control himself and the rest of them from popping up and basically creating that giant council and going to war with the multiverse. Like it's the whole reason
stop them
by trimming timelines and killing off the timelines before like incursions happen or any like big things happen. Like that's why the
timeline with a king in it.
Mm-hmm. That's basically any timeline where anything like that goes against the natural flow that he's created. I'm like the way he explained it to Loki and Sylvie was long time ago. I invented the technology to travel the multiverse, and I found out that multiple versions of me also did that. There was a giant catastrophic war where they all fought against each other until eventually he was the only one left. He created a TVA and now was pruning timelines one by one that were getting out of line and were showing signs of starting to deviate towards basically him. And then once Loki killed him, they went out of control. They all started popping back up
I thought he was pruning timelines because they were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah, that would eventually lead to Kang rising up and getting the power again, which is what eventually happened with that giant
Sylvie
group.
orders like a ham sandwich instead of a meatball sub, then it's like, hey, you put us on a different path.
This is where it starts getting convoluted. But you're right. I mean, small things like that definitely kind of break it. But that's what they were trying to establish, and it has a lot of flaws.
So then when they killed him in Loki or something, how did that?
Well, when they killed him, the TVA was basically rudderless, and like all the timelines, as they showed, started like going out of control and branching off multiple different. They established as the timeline as one solid circle. When you killed He Who Remains, alternate timelines started branching off from the main timeline and creating alternate universes, alternate dimensions, and basically multiplying one by one. And one would assume that infinite Kangs now infinitely exist, which is where that council we saw at the end of this movie came from.
Then why does the council say I invited all of them if there's infinite?
See, the thing that doesn't make sense to me is what they tried to establish in Loki was that he was the last one. And I guess since time is relative in most of these things, it's all happening at once, they immediately popped up. And then they tried to explain that Kang the Conqueror from this movie that got exiled was exiled by the rest of them. I don't know. It's all really stupid. Like all this time travel.
I just read some of the Kang like lore, and holy fuck, is this like the most convoluted ridiculous. He goes back in time to become a pharaoh so he can have Apocalypse be his heir, but gets defeated and then sent back to the future where he decides to kidnap like random people. Like he's insane. This is stupid. It's dumb.
Okay, so the thing is, we're running out of time and I don't know what I'm saying. Somebody pointed out that this version of Kang could have already time traveled to other points in time, which means you could see him again, even though he's dead here.
Yeah, that makes sense, but it's stupid.
But then I'm like, so why do you need all the other Kangs then? If like this Kang, why not just have one Kang from one universe who? Did we ever figure out why he has the ability to jump through timelines? Like, where did that technology come from?
He's just a smart guy. He's a smart guy.
He's from the future, the 31st century.
They're all smart guys that all figured out how to do time travel.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of like Rick from Rick and Morty. Like all of them figured out the same thing and all use it at once.
Okay, so
and meet each other.
To say that like there was one Kang who figured it out and jumped through all over time in multiple universes, and so he could pop up anywhere. Is that not enough? Why do you need a million clones of him to be like pawns?
Because it's stupid. That's why. Because it literally is easier for them to just be like, yeah, and like, no, there's 2 billion Kangs. then
they keep breaking the rules they establish over and over again. Like it used to be like, oh, remember when the Infinity Stones created time as you know it, and then when they got destroyed, somehow the timeline wasn't annihilated. Like shit like that, like them breaking the rules they established.
So I mean, at the end of this movie, I feel like I don't care to ever see Kang again because I feel like we've already seen what he brings to the table. I like he's gonna bring an army. Okay, ants can defeat it. Ants apparently can defeat anything, so which actually makes sense. If they're giant, like it makes sense that the ants are hardcore. Like the ants could have single-handedly beaten Thanos. There are millions of ant empires. There's only one Kang empire, like, or one Thanos army. Like, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I don't ever want to see this guy again. I don't care. And like, instead, the movie comes out. I was like, by the way, you're gonna see this guy a million more times. It's like, okay, Cassie Lang. Like, did she? Who? Like, would you have preferred that she wasn't recast? It's like
she's gonna show up in the Young Avengers, right?
Is that even a thing that exists?
Do you understand how stupid the Young Avengers are? By the time that comes out, all the actors will be like in their 30s.
Gonna be old.
Yeah, it's like we're the Young Avengers. The Avengers are 80 and we're 30. Like,
but it's more like if the writing's going to be bad, does it really matter who's the actress?
No, it doesn't.
Like, what's the point if they're just going to have her like run around and be like, I'm trying to do good in the world, and oh look, I'm all of a sudden a giant superhero. Like I can do everything my dad can do, and I'm basically waiting for him to die so I can become the main franchise lead. Like
he kills him in the next movie. She actually takes him.
And as much as I love Paul Rudd, like I almost wish he died in this one.
Yeah, it would have been more interesting.
Michael Douglas or his wife died because
his family just keeps getting bigger. Like
I feel like they should have all died to save Cassie or something.
Yeah.
It's not like they couldn't be brought back anyway. There's infinite versions of them they could have just pulled from.
Listen, no one dies. Everyone lives. Everyone gets powers. It's going to be like the entire planet of Earth has powers. All 10 billion people are superpowered in one way or another. And
maybe this is one of the reasons why I find this so stupid now is like they have such massive galactic timeline stakes and no one dies. Meanwhile, you watch other stuff like people get mugged on the side of the street and die. Like people in the history of Earth and the rest of the MCU have just died for less than that. Like
literally, this is what I'm saying. Like Galactus, all these Doctor Doom, all these villains, they're like they're gonna be the next big bad. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm just gonna
they'll show up, wave their fist, not kill anyone, and then get defeated.
Resurrect someone.
The leak of Guardians where they say Drax is gonna die. It's like, shouldn't more of them be dying?
No, but then Drax will come back in Avengers Secret Wars, and they'll all be like, "Oh, Drax."
Yeah, I don't think he's going to come back. But
I was going to ask you, do you prefer the designs of Ant-Man and the Wasp in this movie to the old ones? Because I know you said
they're kind of over-designed. Like I don't hate them, but I feel like they're over-designed.
Would you buy a figure of the new Wasp with the yellow?
If it was cheap.
Okay.
Like, yeah, if it was cheap. I don't know. I didn't mind. I like that group of people. I mean, Hope kind of sucks, and so does Cassie. But
I didn't like her hair. I thought it was a little odd. I like her with the longer hair.
It's comic accurate, but it sucks. All right, we're down to a minute.
It says less than a minute. There's not even a countdown.
Yeah, so I guess I'll have to like resubscribe again. Hopefully, I can upload this to SoundCloud. I don't even know if I can, to be honest. I don't remember. I might have canceled my subscription. All right, guys, we will probably be back with Guardians 3. I'm guessing might be the next one. Is there something else? There's Creed, but I don't think we'll do an episode on that.
There's like Flash and a couple of the other.
Well, it was good to talk about it again.
Yeah, as the kid gets older, like it'll be easier to jump on and do an episode here and there. But right now we're like feeding every 3 hours, so I have to like time it very particularly. All right, should we just keep talking till the clock?
Yeah, we'll just let it cut us off.
Countdown disappeared.
I know, so it's just less than a minute.
Less than a minute. So at some point, this is gonna end. I don't know. How
so
you guys been doing? Hey,
good.
I would give Hogwarts a draw. Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah,
it's good, but
all right. Can't